All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are tackling one of the trickiest job interviews out there, landing a senior role where you have to modernize old, clunky legacy systems. Now, this is not your typical developer interview. To nail this, you've got to have a specific playbook. So let's open it up.
So here's the core puzzle we're trying to solve. How do you walk into an interview and convince them you can handle their app that's basically a time capsule from 2010 while also building their shiny future in 2026? You have to be the person who can stand with a foot in both worlds. You have to be the bridge.
Okay, so here's the trap that almost everyone falls into. They go in and they talk all about their modern C# skills, their .NET Core expertise. And that's great, but it's not the winning edge. The real winning move, the thing that gets you the job, is proving you understand the patterns of migration itself. It's about showing you know how to safely move a business from its past into its future.
What you're aiming for is to position yourself as the modernizer. See, this isn't just about being a coder. You're the expert, the guide, who can navigate the dark forest of legacy code and build a new world on the other side without burning the whole forest down in the process. That persona is what makes you stand out.
So, how do you do this? How do you become that modernizer? Well, it actually starts by looking backward, which might sound a little weird. Phase 1 is all about mastering the past, because you simply cannot replace what you don't deeply understand.
And that means getting your hands dirty with the old stuff. We're talking about understanding the key differences between VB.NET and C# syntax, getting your head around the old event-driven world of Windows desktop apps, diving deep into SQL server stored procedures, and yeah, even learning the basics of old-school reporting services, or SSRS, because that's probably what's powering all their existing reports.
And here's some good news. You can breathe a sigh of relief. You do not need to become a fluent VB.NET developer overnight. Your goal is to be a master translator. You need to be able to read that old VB code with perfect clarity so you can pull out the logic and rewrite it safely and accurately in modern C#.
Just picture this. In so many of these old desktop apps, the most critical business logic is literally buried inside the code for a button click. The number one challenge, and what you have to explain, is how you're going to perform a kind of surgical extraction on that logic so it can live in a new, clean, and independent web API.
All right, so you've proven you can understand the past. Now it's time to flip the script and show you can actually build the future. Let's get into phases 2 and 3, where we start constructing the modern replacement.
Okay, on the back end, this is what they need to see. Total mastery of ASP.NET Core Web API. That means you get middleware, you get dependency injection for keeping your code clean. They need to see that you write modern, advanced C#, using link for data and async await to keep things fast. And here's a pro tip for these interviews. Emphasize Entity Framework Core's database-first approach. Why? Because you're starting with a database that already exists.
Then, for the front end, you've got to be fluent in Angular. Components, services, the whole deal. You have to be solid with TypeScript because that's like the contract between your C# backend and your Angular frontend. It makes sure nothing gets lost in translation. And of course, you have to get RxJS observables. That's the reactive heartbeat of any modern Angular app.
Now this next part, this is what separates the seniors from everyone else. Phase 4 is all about proving you can think beyond just the code. It's about showing you're an architect, a strategist.
You need to talk about design patterns like they're your go-to tools. The repository pattern for keeping your data logic nice and separate. The factory pattern for when you need to create complex new objects based on the old system. And especially the adapter pattern. That's the universal translator that lets your brand new system talk to the old one during the migration. It's absolutely critical.
And you know they're going to ask it. What if there's no documentation? And this right here is your killer answer. You look them in the eye and say, I analyze the existing code, the VB.NET and the SQL, as the ultimate source of truth. And then, I validate what I find with the business stakeholders. It shows you're technical, pragmatic, and collaborative. It's perfect.
Okay, you've done the prep, you've mastered the past, you've mastered the future. Now it's time to walk into that interview and face the final gauntlet. Let's look at the real-world, tough-as-nails questions they're going to throw at you.
First up, they hit you with this nightmare scenario. A critical bug pops up in the old system right in the middle of your rewrite. What do you do? What they're testing here is your pragmatism. They want to see if you can juggle. Can you keep the lights on for the business today while you're building their new house for tomorrow?
Next, a classic migration headache, security. They're going from their old internal Active Directory setup to a modern web standard like OAuth and JWT tokens. How do you manage that?
How do you bridge that gap so that users don't get locked out? This question tests your deep architectural knowledge. And finally, the archaeology question. You find a monster of a stored procedure, thousands of lines long, 0 comments, but it runs half the business. What's your step-by-step process for dissecting it, documenting what it does, and making sure nothing gets lost before you even think about rewriting it? This is a test of your analytical and communication skills. So how do you get ready for all of this? You don't just wing it, you make a plan. And here it is, a concrete 6-week sprint to get you interview ready. Week 1, you're a code archaeologist digging into the legacy system. Weeks 2 and 3, you're building the new API and UI. Week 4, you connect them. Week 5 is all about refactoring and polishing. And week 6, you do mock interviews until telling your Modernizer story feels like second nature. This is your roadmap.
So there you have it. That is the complete playbook. You've got the strategy, you've got the study plan, and you've got the answers to the hardest questions. So the only question left now is for you. What's the first legacy system you're going to go out there and modernize?